Welcome, everybody. Let's get started. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. James, would you like to say the prayer?
James Atterbury, pastor of Amargosa Christian Fellowship. Let's pray together. O Lord our God, you are the eternal creator of all things. You are all-powerful, all-wise, all-good, and you rule over all. We thank you for giving us the freedom to gather here this evening to discuss the business of our town and how to best use the money that has been given to it. May you grant our town board members wisdom and grace in all that they do. May those who speak here tonight use words that build others up rather than tearing them down. May they speak with gentleness, kindness, and respect, treating others the way they want to be treated. May all who are here act with wisdom. As the Apostle Paul said to his friend Titus, we are to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy toward all people. May we avoid the temptation to give into an unhealthy craving for controversy and for fighting about things that don't really matter, things that produce envy, division, and slander. May we instead speak the truth to our neighbor in love. Grant us patience in speaking with people who may be hurt or angry at something we have said or done, and may we desire to seek peace with them. May this town board use its resources wisely to equip the employees and volunteers of this town with the tools they need to carry out the tasks they've been given. Lord, please protect the members of our volunteer fire department as they seek to help those who are in need. May they be used by you to save those who are in distress. And it is through the power of your Holy Spirit and for the glory of your name that we ask for all these things. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. I want to thank Pat Minshall. She's taking the board seat till the end of the year. So welcome, Pat. Okay. Approval of the agenda. I am going to be pulling number 6, 7, and 8, and moving number 9 right after 4 and number 11 after 9. Okay. General public comment, up to a 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item. I'm going to open up public comment. Please spell your last name, state your name.
David Hall, H-A-L-L. I would like to thank Carolyn and the board, or who's ever responsible for cleaning up that cactus garden. It's the best it's looked since Pam Hall planted it some 10 years ago. So thank you very much. Whoever's doing that job, a thumbs up. Very well done and very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I still got 2.5 minutes. I would like to take an opportunity to express my own personal opinion about the upcoming election. In another month, we'll be voting for another commissioner for District 1 that'll cover Amargosa Valley. My recommendation is that you all look at everyone who's running for that position, make your own judgment. Let me just tell you something about District 1, maybe some of you don't know about. Bruce Jabor right now is a person that's our commissioner, and he has a district that's bigger than the world, right? So you start in Amargosa Valley in Crystal, you go to Beatty, you go up the road through Esmeralda County into Tonopah. You go past there, you go to Gabbs. You come back across, you go to Current if you want to go all the way out through the valley and then see those folks out there. Anybody ever heard of well, let's see, there's oil wells out there. You all know that, right? Been out there forever. And so that's part of his territory. Plus Sunnyside. Anybody ever been to Sunnyside? Probably not. I wonder how many commissioners outside of Mr. Jabor have visited those people. There's Ione, there's Belmont, there's Sunnyside. You come back around and, you know, and that's just the towns, Carver. And what's out there? Well, let's start on the other side of Tonopah. Lithium mine's going on right now. They want to do a lot of work out there, and that's in Nye County. Crescent Dunes, a big eyesore in Nye County. Been out there for a number of years. That's in Bruce's area. Round Mountain Gold, probably the biggest income of Nye County comes from his district. You come back through, and what do we got coming this way? We got Bonnie Claire. You know, they're wanting to do a lithium mine that's on the other side of Beatty. You got Sataki, or whatever the gold mine happens to be called on this day. They want to put in, what, 700 people mining out there, mining gold. In my mind, you need somebody like Mr. Jabor, who is a businessman and dedicated to all the rural people that in his district. There's nobody that I know of. And if you look at, you know, any of the videos of, you know, the Tonopah meetings, yeah, and there might be 3 commissioners that go all the way to Tonopah and sit there. And I know one's only been there one time in the 6 years that they've ever, or more than that now, 8 years they've been on the board. They'll be finally off the board, and I hope the other members that are coming on will actually take initiative to look at the rest of Nye County and understand what's involved outside of Pahrump, because there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of industry, there's a lot of issues, and I just want you to think about it when you look at all those names, or there's only 3, I think, at this point. Is that correct, Carolyn? I think there's 3 names. Please look at those names, and if I, you know, was I give my endorsement to Bruce Jabor. Everything he's always told me, he's either said it's right, it's wrong, or I may be able to do something. He told me a year at a Beatty Days that something would happen. It did a year later. So all the stuff that he's ever told me has happened, it's been done, and he's been truthful with me. So please keep that in mind when election day comes, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. First off, we have a time presentation by Mason Vale of the Amargosa Conservancy to discuss BLM's final utility scale solar energy problematic. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Programmatic environmental impact statement and proposed resource management plan amendments. Take it away, Mason.
right, good evening, everyone. As Carolyn said, my name is Mason Vale. I'm Executive Director of Amargosa Conservancy and want to thank the board yet again for another opportunity to speak to an important issue that I know is very top of mind for this community, very important to my organization. And I've been here a lot this last year to talk about different issues affecting places like Ash Meadows and Death Valley National Park. One of these days, I'm going to come here with some truly great, exciting news about something really positive. Today is not that day, unfortunately, but I will come at some point, and this will be a very different atmosphere. But today I want to talk, as Carolyn mentioned, about the BLM's released updated Western Solar Plan. And this is a very time-sensitive issue. It's a very large planning process that I'm going to get into, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the potential impacts of this planning process on this community for what could potentially be the next few decades. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of what I'm just going to talk through. I promise not to be long-winded. We're going to give a little brief history of kind of what this solar plan is and why it matters. We're going to talk about what it means for the Amargosa River watershed. Talk about this last opportunity we really have to make an impact. And again, spoiler alert, it's right now. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what an alternative vision for balanced energy production in this watershed could look like, and then end with what you can do to make a difference if you choose to. So Amargosa Conservancy is a conservation nonprofit. We've been working for 20 years throughout the watershed, and we advocate for a sustainable future through science, stewardship, and advocacy. Next slide, please. So the Western Solar Plan. This is a planning process that was first undertaken under the Obama administration back in 2012. And basically they were looking at lands managed by the Bureau of Land Management in 6 different states. So we had California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. And the BLM was looking at those states and basically trying to identify where are the lands that we really want to streamline solar energy development because they are relatively low in conflict. And so what they ended up doing was setting aside 285,000 acres in those states that they called solar energy zones. And you maybe have heard that term because we actually have one here in the Amargosa Valley. Just north of us, between here and Beatty, just north of the Big Dune, is one of those solar energy zones. Now, of course, you haven't seen solar panels out there. That's because it was never developed. This planning process was flawed in some ways because they really didn't consider that the solar industry was going to need transmission infrastructure to actually tie into and move that energy around. So none of the developers wanted to foot that bill in many of these solar energy zone locations. So they were never built out. Now you might have heard last year there was a big lease auction for that solar energy zone. That went to NV Energy for a very large price of $83 million. And so that's looking more likely that it will be built out, in part because that transmission infrastructure is coming through. Greenlink West, the decision was finalized on that transmission line, which will connect Reno to Las Vegas. It's going to come through, basically parallel the 95 highway corridor, and that's going to be the place that many solar projects can tie into. So that's kind of remedying that problem that was in that 2012 planning process. So next slide, please. So the Biden administration, starting about 2 years ago, sought to update this Western Solar Plan. And, sorry, I got ahead of myself. You may be wondering, well, okay, so we're looking at California. Why isn't California, the California side of the Amargosa specifically, been built out for solar projects? And that was because there was a special planning process undertaken back in the early 2000s where the California desert kind of saw solar coming and said, we need a plan, because if we don't do anything, the industry's going to have their way and build out as much as they want. So it was a very unique process through which they got the solar industry, federal agencies, state agencies, conservation groups, tribes, all together and said, well, let's look at the California desert and carve it up. And we're going to get solar development in some places. We're going to get permanent conservation protections in others. And it was a very complex planning process. It took like 10 years to get to its final state. And not everyone was happy with it. There were still solar projects in places that are continue to be problematic. However, it was actually a pretty good idea because it did at least secure some places that were going to be off the table. And the southern part of the Amargosa, Shoshone, Tecopa, all the way down past China Ranch, That was one of those places that got 600,000 acres of national conservation lands. So those can't be built out for solar energy. So that's why there's kind of a split personality here in the watershed. But just wanted to note that. That's why you won't, likely never see solar energy projects south of the state line. Next slide, please. So this update, the Biden administration in the last 2 years has been seeking to update the Western Solar Plan. They expanded the area of analysis considerably to include 11 western states, so functionally the entire American West. And the DRECP, this planning process in the California desert, was excluded from this new effort, which is really important, actually. They just said, you know what, that seems to be working. Nobody's sued anybody over that to date, so that's a good sign. And so they left that alone. This is driven by this goal set out by the administration to reach 100% clean energy production by 2035. Very ambitious goal. It's 2024 currently. Next slide, please. So what happened in this update? Well, there was a rigorous environmental review process. Many organizations and agencies, municipalities across the West submitted comments telling the BLM what they wanted the BLM to focus on through this. And the final version of this plan was released just a few weeks ago, August 29th. So that plan opens up currently 31 million acres across these 11 western states, BLM lands, for potential solar energy production. 12 million of that is in Nevada alone, so more than a third. So Nevada is really the epicenter here, and we're bearing the burden of this planning process. Of that 12 million acres, about 220,000 acres remain open for solar development here in the Nevada portion of the Amargosa River watershed. I'm going to show some maps in a second. I also brought large maps with me. You might have saw when you walk in. It's a huge land area. And honestly, we were hearing good things about this plan, that we may actually be happy with the balance, that they might have, because they sought out to protect sensitive places from this planning process. At least that's what the BLM intended to do. So we thought the Amargosa might be one of those places because of the amazing biodiversity we have in places like Ash Meadows and throughout the watershed. We made our case as strongly as we could, but this is what we got out of it. This is just a zoom in on Nevada. All of the green in that map is depicting the lands that would be left open for solar energy development through the state. So huge potential transformation of public lands, probably the largest we've seen since the railroad, to be honest. Next slide, please. So let's zoom in now in the Amargosa. Looking at the Amargosa Desert region, which of course we're in, about 160,000 acres of potential solar development has been made available through this plan in this region. And that's not even potentially all of it. There's a number of projects that were proposed before this planning process that may or may not be exempted or excluded from this plan. A number of them may be grandfathered in. We've requested a list of those projects and have not been provided them. So it could be actually more than 160,000 acres if it were all to be built out. Now, I want to make clear that these are just lands that are open for solar energy development. And the BLM has been very clear that not all these may be built out. In fact, of the 31 million acres across the West that they want to open for solar, the BLM says we only need about 700,000 acres of that. So a fraction of that, which begs the question of, well, if you only need 700,000 acres, why are we opening up 31 million, right? So it's just sort of hard to wrap your mind around the potential transformation in a place like the Amargosa Valley that would come from even half of this being built out. 80,000 acres is still a lot of solar. Next slide, please. The Pahrump Valley has about 60,000 acres left open for solar development as well. That's depicted in the green. So taken in total, we're looking at 220,000 acres just here in the Nevada side of the watershed. Next slide. So what does this plan actually mean for the future of the Amargosa River watershed? There are multiple concerns here. Next slide, please. This is the Yellow Pine project, which I'm guessing pretty much everyone in this room has driven past at some point. This is the project south of Pahrump on 160. And this is just, I think, demonstrative of the scale of these projects. They are large industrial facilities. They entail a ton of land disturbance. They are, this is actually a relatively small project. It's sort of amazing how they take the desert and can, in this case was scraped down to the bare mineral earth for construction of this project. So huge amount of disturbance involved. Next slide, please. And so this is our concern. I mean, these are impacts to a lot of these places, across the West, but especially here in the Amargosa, are pretty much intact ecosystems. This left picture is a super bloom. This is just south of Pahrump on 373, or west of Pahrump rather. This was just taken last spring. It was a really great bloom. We're concerned about the Pahrump Valley, that amazing unbroken view shed. The Old Spanish National Historic Trail comes right through there. It's an amazing historic trail, and that whole view shed of that trail will be changed forever. And then right here in the Amargosa Valley, that picture was taken just north of Ash Meadows, just east of here. One of the best desert gold blooms I've certainly seen this last year. I'm sure you got to enjoy that. A lot of these places that are currently intact and kind of flourishing stand to be transformed and will probably never come back the same way if they're built out for solar. Next slide, please. Of course, as a conservation org, we're extremely concerned about the impacts of sensitive wildlife species. We have a number of extraordinarily rare plants across the Amargosa that could be impacted by blowing dust or even modest groundwater depletion. Migratory birds, this is part of the Pacific Flyway. Birds depend on places like Ash Meadows and throughout the Amargosa as a stopover site on their migration routes to Utah and beyond. If they lose that, they're in real trouble. And finally, we're just concerned for these species across the watershed from groundwater depletion. Solar energy projects take more water than you might think. The average 3,000 acre project takes about 1,000 acre feet of water for construction to keep dust down. So if you multiply that across 160,000 acres or even 80,000 acres, it begs the question, where are they going to get the water from for that amount of construction? And we're concerned about any additional stress on this aquifer. I don't have to tell you all, we've got a long ways to go to get to a healthy place here. We're concerned about all the wildlife that depend on that water as well. Next slide. And of course, view sheds, just like this is, beautiful, unbroken Mojave Desert. It's part of why I love it out here. Places like the Big Dune could be completely surrounded on all sides. That's going to change that experience quite a bit. Obviously, Ash Meadows could be enveloped on the western side. That'll change that experience. And then for everyone coming through to Death Valley National Park, this is a major gateway to the park. There are potentially up to 45 miles of the park boundary that could have solar energy projects along them. So it will really change the look and feel of this whole region, and it's going to, I think, impact tourism negatively. People will be less likely to want to drive through a big industrial solar array on their way to a national park. Next slide, please. So, of course, I'm also concerned about impacts to your community and to all the communities involved in this planning process. But I have to say, I've looked around the West in this planning process. I don't think you'll find a community more impacted than this one. That map on the left shows, the township, the private property boundaries, and the town could be enveloped on all sides and through the middle by industrial solar, right up to people's fence lines. We begged the BLM to give a buffer, set it back a couple miles, right? They didn't listen to that. And so that's really disappointing that, they seem very uninterested in how this level of development could affect your town and even Pahrump. This is also with the potential to be built up right to people's fence lines. And, imagine what that means for property values and just looking out your window, right? It'll completely change the whole character of the town, and that's something that we really encourage the BLM to consider in this planning process, and they failed to do so. Next slide, please. At the end of the day, the biggest concern for us is impacts to groundwater. Everything I mentioned is serious, but this is the most serious one. And just a reminder that this is a vast system. The impacts here are going to register into Death Valley National Park, south into California. We're working with a very complex hydrological system that's already under a lot of stress. So that's the biggest concern. I've got just 2 more slides here on the groundwater. We're concerned about what this means for our partners, the Timbishaw Shoshone tribe in Death Valley. They get their groundwater from this aquifer. They've got nowhere else to go. And so we're really concerned about them as well. And then this last slide. This is showing what the Death Valley, the model, the groundwater flow model has predicted for this basin in terms of stress. And the darker, angrier red the color, the more acute the stress is in the model. So both Pahrump and Amargosa Valley are currently stressed. There's just no other way to put it. And so we begged the BLM to say, look, we've got communities and aquifers here that are under stress. Please exclude those from this planning process so that we don't add even more stress to that mix. Next slide. So what do we do about this? Where are we at right now? Well, here's the kind of the frustrating thing. We basically have one shot left before the ink fully dries on this plan, and that's through a process known as an administrative protest. This is if you submitted a comment during the environmental review over the last couple of years, you have standing to protest this. Basically say, BLM, we asked you to consider all these things. You failed to do so, or you failed to do so consistently. You failed to account for impacts that you are obligated to under federal law. And so this is our last chance to basically appeal to the BLM and say, you need to reconsider this planning process and rectify things that we think you got really wrong. So unfortunately, this is, as I said, limited to those who submitted comments. But my organization is doing so. The town of Amargosa Valley, I don't know if you've already voted to formally do this, but I believe we'll be doing so. The town of Beatty will be doing so. And we believe Nye County and every county in Nevada will be protesting this plan. So we still have a narrow window here to try to get a better balanced plan out of this. And that we have a deadline of September 30th. There's another 30-day period for the counties, but we really have until next week to file our protest. So that's part of why I'm here tonight. So I just want to touch really briefly on, like, well, what are we really asking for here? And I'll be real that, through this administrative protest, it is unlikely we're going to see the entire Amargosa taken off the table, as much as, frankly, I would really like to see that, because I think this landscape deserves it. But really what we're calling for is balance. We just want to see that there are places in the West, and even places here in the Valley, that are better and worse for this kind of use. And there are places like that solar energy zone established in 2012 where, frankly, it was supported by Amargosa Valley, it was supported by Beatty. It's probably the right place to put it. So we're appealing to the BLM and saying, we're not asking you to take this off the table completely. We're just asking you to put this in places where it makes the most sense. So that's going to be our pitch. This is a complex issue. It's important to us that we see some conservation benefit come out of this and some community benefit, because otherwise this community is going to be shouldering the burden for the nation's energy goals, and that just feels inappropriate. So I think it's really up to us as the broader watershed community to talk about what a balanced approach looks like, but that's what we're fighting for, is the chance to do that together instead of having it dictated. So how can you help us? We have created a petition that we are collecting signatures on, calling on the BLM to reopen this plan and make the adjustments that we think need to be made. And we'll be sending all these signatures directly to the BLM. So that's really your opportunity as residents to raise your voice on this. We have links to that petition in the back. It's also on our website. We can direct you there. So if you feel motivated to do so, please do so. We're looking for as many signatures as we can by October 28th. And then other things you can do is write to your elected officials. It's important that they hear from the communities that are most impacted in this, and that's you all. So consider writing a letter to our state and federal representatives saying, hey, we need you to step in and help us get a more balanced plan from the BLM. The last two things is just if you're trying to stay up to date on this issue, we put out our newsletter every month, and we post on social media darn near every day. We're doing our best to stay on top of the situation, so that's the best way to stay plugged in and to be made aware of any opportunities you have to take action in the future. And the last thing is just, support organizations that are standing up here. Not every organization is. It's actually really disappointing. But there are some that are really coming out and trying to do the right thing and fight this plan while we can. So consider supporting those organizations if you're willing to. That's my presentation. I'm happy to take questions, and otherwise that's my contact information. Please reach out if you want to discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mason. I'm going to need, we don't have the microphone. Okay, can you come on up? State and spell your last name. You know the rules.
Shelley Rao, REU. If they're going to use that much water, doesn't that require water rights? I mean, when we irrigate out here, we have to purchase water rights. You have to prove beneficial use. If you're irrigating a field or running a casino, you have to keep those current. How do they get those water rights? And how do you prove beneficial use once the construction's done?
Yeah. Those are all the best questions. We're asking the same questions. And unfortunately, this process works kind of backwards, where, this is a federal level planning process. And the BLM in this plan basically said, well, in terms of water concerns, that's the states. That's up to the states. And, groundwater is managed by the state of Nevada. But what ends up happening in this is we get these planning processes that, open up vast amounts of acreage for potential development. And even the developers don't always think about the fact that they're going to need to secure water rights for their project. So they can get all the way through the permitting and then finally get to the point and going like, oh, we better find water for this. And sometimes that's the question, right? Where are they going to find it? They're either going to have to, get a new water right, which in this basin is impossible, or they're going to have to lease it, right? They're going to have to find a willing leasee. And that's going to get really complicated based on the restrictions around the Devil's Hole and points of diversion. And
they can't be moved. They have to stay 25 miles away from Amargosa. They can't. The point of diversion can't be changed there. And one other quick question: what about the beetle at the sand dunes? That was another. It's kind of like the pupfish, but it was an issue years ago when people were riding around sand dunes and stuff. And is that another weapon we can use?
yeah, it's tough because there is a area of critical environmental concern created for the Big Dune to protect that endemic species of beetle. We were looking to address that in our protest. However, our only avenue for doing that is to basically say that the plan would violate the visual values of that ACEC, that area of critical environmental concern. But that ACEC wasn't designated with that value in mind. And so, because the beetle doesn't have any special status as, endangered, for example, that might give us more leverage, but in this case, it's going to be really tough. So, this is, it's very complex. These are great questions, though. We have the same ones.
My name is John Basta, and my question is that to be able to have BLM lease the land in the state of Nevada, which is the property of all people, they have to have the contract clause. And the reason that they have the contract clause is it goes back to the Mining Act. And BLM has to come to the local community and say, I have this project. And they present it to the local community. The local community then says, we accept your plan. And so therefore you have a contract between BLM and the town for this project. If you don't have that contract, they are not able to legally come in and put that into our town. And yet we have the discussion of all of these plans and everything else. And the last time we had this presentation, I asked the question, what about the contract clause? And nobody wants to pay attention to it. I can show you in acts that BLM just approved in 2024, and way down at the bottom of the act is it takes and it mentions the plan, which is the mining plan, and that gives them the ability to make that agreement. I have not heard anybody from the BLM come to this town and say we are making these plans to develop the people's lands inside of your community. And this community has a lot more power, and you have a lot more power because the contract clause has not been completed legally. And until that contract clause is completed, you can take and say this is a violation of the U.S. Constitution.
Well, that's a little bit about, I don't know that much about the contract clause, but I will say that this plan is interesting in that, the Bureau of Land Management has this multi-use mandate, meaning that they have to manage these lands for multiple purposes, from recreation to oil and gas leasing, solar energies being one of them. But this planning process seems to indicate that they want these lands to be are planned for that one specific use, which is solar energy. So we have all kinds of questions. I mean, honestly, the plan is extremely technical. We've been wading through it for the last 3 weeks and pointing out all the areas that we think are inconsistent, and we hope it amounts to some kind of meaningful change.
Okay, regarding the water rights, there are no new water rights available. They cannot create any. And so the developers are, acquiring water rights from the local irrigators, and they have been in contact with NDWR on how they move those. So that is, the amount of water that is being pumped will be basically the same as we dealt with, but we all know that the last GIS report showed that our water tables, and we're all experiencing this right now, that have gone down 45 feet in the last 18 years. So, but those water rights are monitored, and there are no on the BLM, and they cannot change the point of diversion to BLM property. So that's an issue that's being worked out.
And they can't drill a well on BLM property. Dave?
Dave Hall, H-A-L-L. Back in 2007, we made an area plan. That area plan specifically allocated land along 95 to be designated for solar. Okay, everything from, I don't know, maybe about 5 miles or 10 miles north of Farm Road to 95. Said, okay, if you want to put solar in, put it in there. The BLM land within Amargosa Valley, like behind my house, from the dairy all the way across, from Mecca to Anvil Road, was all open space. It was open for the people to use for whatever. I have a real bad feeling that, you look at where they want to put these, and we're the only place that they put this size solar in a rural area that's populated. They got the Esmeralda 7, right? It's in the corner of 95 and 6. What's out there? Silver Peak. Nothing. Nobody lives there anymore. Nobody's out there. There's nothing there. Sacravatus Flats. I counted 5, maybe, buildings within that whole stretch of Sacravatus Flats this weekend where there might be somebody. But it's not Amargosa Valley, where we have people. We've got a vineyard that would be in the middle of it. We got Buck's Bray's place that would be in the middle of it. We got Larry and Kay and myself. We're right on the edge of it, along with Steve Gehring and his really nice vineyard he's putting in. I don't understand why we give up our dunes, and all where people live, when they've already designated all these other places where there's absolutely nothing. And I really got a problem with that. I understand that if you got private land, you can do something. Okay, it is what it is. But we don't have to give up our BLM land because, like John indicated, that belongs to the people. All of us in this valley, it belongs to us, as well as everybody else in the United States. And I don't really understand how they can get away with us having an area plan specifically designated that, and specifically designated the area, away from that to be open land with trails and other stuff for the individuals. So, Carolyn, if you still have that copy I gave you, maybe you could give that to Mason so he could review that and understand what we did a lot of years ago to make sure that we kind of covered this kind of stuff, because all of a sudden all that stuff got forgotten. And it was, the town board at that time approved it, the county commissioners approved it. And I know the county commissioners are really, they're really kind of saying, hey, we're not sure if we want to okay solar in Nye County anyway. So, but there's a lot of places out there where there ain't nobody, and that's, and if there is, there's 1 or 2 people. It's not like in here where you've got, a lot of stuff and a lot of people and a lot of things going on that don't need to be inundated with solar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any more public comment or questions, I should say? Okay. Mason? You want? Oh, wait a minute. Shelley, speak get right into the microphone so everybody can hear.
Shelley Rao, RAU. What kind of clauses are in there for cleanup if and when they no longer work or produce? What, I mean, that's an environmental hazard as far as I'm concerned. When the transformers or battery boxes or whatever they are catch on fire, our fire department is pushed to the limits. Well, that lithium battery truck, I mean, those are prime examples of hazards and what happens when they're not making energy anymore? Do they
Did
have
everybody
cleanup
hear
clauses?
that?
I'm sorry,
'cause
do they have cleanup clauses?
Yeah, I just reviewed this section of the plan this morning to ask that question. And unfortunately, the final version of the plan basically, there's mandatory requirements for the developers they have to follow, and then there's project guidelines, kind of like we're encouraging you to follow these if you can. And one of those project guidelines is the developers are supposed to coordinate with local townships, counties, on those kinds of emergency responses. But their only requirement is actually just to monitor those things and report them to the BLM after the fact so that the BLM can improve their framework for future projects. And that's one thing we pointed out and saying that is not acceptable because that is underestimating the potential burden that is placed on emergency services of these local communities. I mean, there's rippling effects from that. And the first version of the plan actually required them to respond to incidences as they occurred. That was removed from the final plan. So, this is what I've been spending all day doing is kind of going, all right, what made it through the gauntlet and what didn't? And that was one that didn't. So it was a project guideline only, and we're appealing to them saying you better make that a requirement. So.
Excuse me. Those are issues that we have been addressing with the BLM and each one of the developers. And you have all been aware of the accidents, the hazmat accidents that have happened in just the last 8 weeks. And the one that happened up outside Reno, the Tesla truck turned over. The NTSB responds after that, says, well, maybe we ought to be asking these lithium battery companies how to take care of these things. Because right now, all you can do is sit back and let it go. So that's a huge issue that we have raised with these guys, that our volunteer fire department is not trained nor equipped to handle these type of emergencies. And so that is an area that we are negotiating with. We have, the county has their solar ordinance where that is included in there. One other thing, when the, excuse me, I attended a CoBank conference up in Salt Lake City a couple weeks ago, and the CEOs from the various utility grade electric cooperatives were there. One of the big concerns that they are all thinking about that's not listed anywhere, and one thing that you don't see in any of these projects are what happens to us. The price that we pay as the boots on the ground to, excuse my French, give Mr. Newsom in those goddamn Tesla cars the ability to charge up. Sorry, but you know how it goes. So the concern is that, yeah, there are supposed to be restoration clauses built into those deals. They tell us that they're going to buy bonding contracts that will do the cleanup when they're gone. We've been around big business. We know what the blazes is going to happen. As soon as these projects are not financially feasible, which I think is going to happen sooner than later, because without the subsidies, these things don't fly. These guys are just going to declare bankruptcy, put their hands up, and walk away. The same darn thing with the bonding companies. Since they're not receiving premiums anymore, sorry, away we go. And we are going to be left with this stuff in our neighborhoods, and we don't have the horsepower to clean it up. And that is a nightmare I deal with all the time, that we could end up with 30,000 acres of these things just sitting out there and not a darn thing we can do about it. So it's, believe me, there are no positive benefits for rural America in this green energy thing. Not in any shape, form, or fashion. And don't let whoever you vote for tell you different.
Anybody? He gets worked up. Okay. Yeah, we all do. It's yeah. Is there anybody else that has a question? I think the main thing is we've been under siege. We've been working on this almost 2 years, and there's certain things we couldn't share with you. The things we can, we do. There's some dangers coming that, you know, I can't wait for the day that I can tell you what's bothering me the most. It's problematic. And this solar PEIS that came out with the BLM is, between that and the governor's letter, we have to protest. We just have to. It's our survival again. I mean, lithium is one thing. I mean, they're coming at us with everything. We've got people that have water that are selling water for Ashanti gold. They're getting their water for these projects from local people. And, you know, granted, it's being pumped. You know, it's still coming. It's being pumped anyway. That doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy. I just want you to know, gosh, I wish I could just, there's going to be a day where we're all going to sit in here and I'm going to tell you the whole thing. Because when I can. And it's the projects that were on the auction. There's one on 373 and 95. It's 10,000 plus acres. From that corner coming our way right here. The solar project on Farm Road, which we negotiated from 6,300 acres, which was on both sides of Farm Road, we negotiated down to 3,000 acres only on one side of the road. And the SES zone, which is 7,200 acres, it's 2 parcels, that's up between here and Beatty. But those are going to go no matter what. There's not a whole heck of a lot we can do about that. But it's the other 11 projects that will. You saw the map. The green that is allowable for solar. We're 95% BLM. You know, that doesn't leave us a lot. We think we've got all this property because we're geographically large, but we're BLM, and they have tagged it for solar only. Solar only. And they've got tax abatements, tax incentives to come in here. You know, there's really, we're fighting tooth and nail. And as each developer comes in, we're working with them, but they have to come here to the town and show you what they're going to do, like Silver Star did. And you get to see. But that's not the end of it. We've got the county doing a solar ordinance that they've worked very hard on with the developers. The developers put a coalition together. And that's going to be in its final draft probably in the next month. And it helps, but it's not the answer. But then they've got to come here. And that's us. We have a say. And we're going to push back. We're going to do whatever we can to make it, if it has to happen, more tolerable, keep it away from our houses. I mean, going down the center of town, you know, I don't know if you caught that with Dave. He kind of took me off it's going down the center of town. That's what they want to do. So, again, Mason, thank you for all that you're doing with lithium, you name it. I mean, he's on our side. And we're going to protest right along with you.
Shelley Rao, REU, one more thing. Along with what Dave Hall was saying about going up north, they have water recharge up there. It snows. It doesn't snow here. It doesn't rain here. We don't get any kind of recharge. All that land Dave's talking about, from Beatty going north up by Sacrobata, Slida, all that's wide open, and it snows. There's way more water up there, way more recharge. We don't get any of that. And so that makes that land even more. There's nobody, like Dave says, that lives there. Plus, they get recharge. So throw that in there. No.
Laura, would you like to speak on the area up there by Beatty? So you can all hear just how far this is going. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Laura Cunningham, a resident of Beatty, Nevada. And I just want to say, we don't have a lot of water up there, and we have a lot of gold mines asking for water. So just please don't say put the solar up there. Thanks.
Okay, is there anybody else? Okay, Mason, would you like to close with, you got anything else you left in your pocket?
Just want to say thank you, and I'll be back again, I'm sure, in the future, and hopefully on a sunnier day. So.
Thank you, Mason. Okay, we're going to move right to number 9. For possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny Amargosa Valley Town Board to join or issue a letter of support to the Amargosa Conservancy for the administrative protest of the BLM's final utility scale solar energy programmatic environmental impact statement and proposed resource management plan amendments, also known as the updated Western Solar Plan.
I make the motion that we issue the letter of support as stated.
Push the button there. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. All right. I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks you, Mason. Oh, I thought I heard somebody say something. Okay. Okay, number 11. We're going to move to number 11. For possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny fiscal impact 2025 public safety sales and use tax, PSST, plan for the town of Amargosa Valley. Sheriff?
Thank you. Sheriff Joe McGill, MCGILL. For those of you that may not know what this is, the public safety sales tax is a 0.5% from sales taxes that goes toward public safety. 50% of that it gets divided at the top at the state level. 50% goes to fire, 50% goes to law enforcement, and this is a fund that we use to be able to pay for things that we otherwise may not be able to do. Usually large purchases, more expensive things. So currently the Amargosa Valley PSST budget projected revenue for fiscal year 25 is $88,817.55. That is based on the population from the last census of the Amargosa Valley being 1,836 residents, which is 3.5% of Nye County's total population. The current budget for PSST for Amargosa carried over from previous years is $370,185.96. So that is your current balance in the PSST bank account for the Amargosa Valley Fund. Our proposed purchasing for fiscal year 25. The first item is the initial purchase of GTAC, which is our body cams and vehicle cameras. The initial purchase for cloud storage of the body and vehicle cams was approved in fiscal year 2017 spending plan. The annual cost for cloud storage for that data, the Amargosa Valley portion, being $2,100. The second item is our lens lock. Lens lock is a new body cam system that we purchased a year ago because our GTAC body cam system and vehicle cam system contract was expired, and so we're upgrading. The original purchase of this system was approved in fiscal year 23 spending plan. The annual cost for year 2 of the 5-year contract, the Amargosa Valley portion, is $12,032.97. The next item is Cradle Point, the initial purchase of the mobile data terminals, which is the computers that we have in our cars. We can run people's names, license plates, get everything through our dispatch that way. The initial purchase of that was approved in fiscal year 2017 spending. The annual cost for software and licensing related to this, the Amargosa Valley portion, is $525. Verizon, the initial purchase of it's the modem system for these cameras, was approved in fiscal year 2017 plan. The annual cost for cellular service related to the mobile data terminals, the Amargosa Valley portion, is $2,100. ECR, this is the fingerprint machines that we use in both detention centers in Pahrump and Tonopah, also in the offices in Pahrump and Tonopah. That initial purchase was approved in the fiscal year 2017 spending plan. The annual cost for maintenance and supplies for these machines, the Amargosa Valley portion, is $140. And the final item is CPI Guardian. This is a big vacuum sealer machine that we use in the 2 detention centers, Pahrump and Tonopah. We take inmates' property and clothing and put it in this big vacuum sealer, sucks all the air out. Number 1, it shrinks it down so it's easier for storage. Number 2, it prevents the odor from clothing from permeating the buildings. And then thirdly, it protects their property from being misplaced. It's in a sealed bag, so we don't lose your small items. So the initial purchase of that was approved in the fiscal year 21 spending plan. The annual cost for supplies for this, the Amargosa portion, is $175. Doing the math, the total of these 6 items, the Amargosa Valley portion for the PSST spending plan, comes out to $17,072.97. And we are not projecting any additional purchases funded by PSST for the fiscal year 25. So with that, if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Okay, I think I can handle those. I want to make a motion to pay, excuse me, the funds requested out of the PSST funds. We have plenty of money in that account that we projected. Plus, the sheriff's office did tell me that these were originally paid for back then with PSST money, and the recurring costs can also be paid out of PSST money. So I make a motion to we approve these as presented.
I second that motion.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for public comment, just in case there's any public comment. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Board members, do you have any questions? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We're going to go to back to reports now. Okay. Town office report. Where'd my deputy town clerk go? Okay. Rebecca.
Rebecca Lucas, LUCAS Deputy Town Clerk. All right, so I do have a couple of bills I need to touch on. They are for larger amounts, but like I said, this is the only time they will be coming out for the fiscal year. That's the $25,000 donation to the Amargosa Senior Center. And then there's also a ESO bill, and that's for the fire department. It's a yearly subscription we pay for their, I believe it's their record system and their dispatch system. So that's what that's for. And that comes out to $5,768.99. Again, these are one-time purchases. This is the only time they'll be coming out. So with that being said, our total for regular bills is $28,506.40. Our recurring is $7,862.53. And credit cards, petty cash, and all that comes out to, I think it was $14,553.49, bringing the grand total to $50,922.42.
Okay, also within that, there was the $8,500 for the new lights in the fire department and in the parking lot. And so we're right within our normal budget. So I want to make the motion to pay the vouchers as presented.
I second that motion.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up for public comment. Is there any comment? Okay, board member comments, any questions? Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, fire department report. Jessica Cattermas.
Jessica Cattermas, Kadrmas, Fire Department Clerk, and here is your Fire Department report. Our call breakdown this month, we had 4 fire-related calls, 12 EMS calls, and 2 calls that fall underneath the other category. Other category is person in distress, call dispatch but canceled en route, those kinds of things that don't quite fall under its own category. Which brings us to a grand total of 18 calls for the month of September, which is just a lot. All equipment at this time remains operational. Command 42 was down for about a week while we got some repairs done on it. It's completely back up in service. While it was down, we used Squad 41 to get its engine revved a little bit because it needs to drive every now and again. We also got Danny and Leo's new turnouts that we had purchased from Sea Western a couple months ago. They are finally here. We are very impressed with the quality and the fit of both of them. No complaints overall, and the guys are very excited to actually wear them on a scene and really put them to the test. Training continues with water pump operations as well as scene safety and protocol refreshers. EMS training remains on schedule with patient assessment and care. We also just completed 3 days of training in partnership with Zacatecas Fire Department. We went over extrication training, water pump operations, scene safety, as well as some EMS related things that pertain to all of that stuff. And that's pretty much it for the fire department report, unless you guys have any questions.
I'm glad that we'd had our meeting, and I knew that was happening because when I saw the tanker and the engine in the park, I went, oh God, what did Mike do this time? Yeah. But no, I mean, I was like, oh no. But
you know, the grass just needed some water.
Yeah, and then somebody posted it on Facebook. Well, thank you very much, Jessica. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Planning Committee.
There is no report. They didn't have a meeting this month.
Tourism. I'm sorry.
They are looking for somebody. Paul Burton isn't going to attend those meetings anymore. So if, he retired or quit or something. So if you'd like to get on that committee, let us know in the office and we'll put you in contact with the lab.
Okay, Tourism and Economic Development Committee.
Rebecca Lucas, LUCAS. I have quite a few things as far as events and happenings in the town. A couple of them this month. So on October 19th, come support your Amargosa Valley Middle School volleyball team. They're having a big game and tournament here. I believe starts at 9 a.m. Again, that's on October 19th. They'll be selling concessions and everything, so come show your support. They really love it when you guys come out. Also, this trunk or treat and trick or treat train flyer went out in the newsletter. It has the times for both of them. We're going to have trunk or treat in the park from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then the trick or treat train will be making a stop at the park. So everybody that's doing that train where they drive through the whole valley and go trick or treating, since we're so spread out. That's starting at 4 p.m. after school. And they're going to start at the Long Street. And it will take about 4 to 6 hours to drive the whole valley, depending on how many cars they have and how many stops they have. But they will be stopping at the park as one of their stops. Some kind of further out events and stuff we have going on. Oh, there's another event in October. On October 4th, Ash Meadows is having a stargazing party. You do need to RSVP, and that flyer will also be in the newsletter. If you just scan the little QR code or call the phone number and you RSVP for their stargazing party. 2 other things that are further out that I have is with our Raiders ad, we get Raiders tickets that we can raffle off. So this year I have secured 2 tickets. There are 2 tailgate passes, all inclusive to the pregame tailgate party, and 2 lower level tickets. And we will be raffling those off throughout the whole month of November. We will be selling raffle tickets, and then at the community Christmas dinner, we will pick a winner. And so be sure, if you're interested, that game we are raffling off will be for January 5th. I believe it's the Raiders versus the Chargers, and I believe it's a Saturday night football game. Don't quote me on that, just look at your calendars. Also, we have started Amargosa Days prepping. So I will be sending out vendor applications to all vendors that have been here in the past. But if you are new and you haven't been a vendor before, just call the town office or email us, and we will be more than happy to get you an application. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Becca. Now, Mike.
So on the economic development side, both of the transmission companies, excuse me, GreenLink and Grid Alliance, have been acquiring parcels in the area. So GreenLink is the NB Energy one that's going all the way from Vegas to Reno, primarily along 95. They have acquired a laydown yard for their property, or for their equipment, on the east side of Sage, just the other side of the Mills place. And then there is also a monitoring station that's going to go up just this side of Long Street, and there will be 4 of them in the area that they monitor the performance or activity on GreenLink and can report any breakages or things going in. And we did inform them that they had to get their aggregate and stuff to compactor from Morgan, and so they've been in contact with him. And Grid Alliance is looking at a property on Anvil, and hopefully they're going to acquire that one. We have been in communications with one of the company. You saw that deal in the Prep Valley Times a few weeks ago about that solar recycling company. We have been in contact with them. The bottom line, after going through everything, is that there is no residual waste left over. Nothing goes into our landfill. They don't use very much water. They pay a good wage in the low 20s to get started. And so we have made initial contact with them, and hopefully we'll get them out here. So we're trying to make the most out of what's coming at us to at least get some benefit out of it. So we've got those things going on.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we're going to do for possible action, discussion, and deliberation. Oh. I do it to you every time. Senior Center.
Dave Hall with the Senior Center report. For the the financials for the month of August, we did really well. We had 146 more meals served this year than we had last year. We're still doing breakfast 2 days a week and lunch 2 days a week. So anybody interested in coming by, breakfast starts at 9 and lunch starts at 11:30. So, please come by and help us out. Have a good meal. We're looking at doing a 5-year plan. It was supposed to be in a newsletter, but lab ran out of room to print it. So we'll have it out next month. But there will be forms available at the senior center for people that have inputs to that. Here again, it's a community operation. It's not just really a senior center. We have a community thrift store. We have a community commodity building. It's managed by the people on the 501c3 at the senior center. But again, it's a community operation. So please, if anybody's got any ideas, suggestions, things they want to see different, improved, funding ideas, it's all open game. It's a wish list, if you will, of things we want to see better in our community. We're also working with all the people that, Mike and Carolyn talked about, Grid Alliance, and oh, there's a list a mile long. But anyway, all those people that come through their office, we meet with them also to make sure that, they know that there's facilities in this community that need, attention. We've gone a long time, and we also want to make sure that the county people know that we have no budget from our county commissioners for upkeep for this facility. It all comes out of whatever money Mike can scrape together to keep the facilities up and going. And so I think that's an important thing that we do with all these people that want to be developers within community. We need to upgrade this building, change the lighting, change the color, and do a lot of things. And so we're working with all those people too for the senior center. I do want to just say that, our grants don't pay for everything. What really helps us out a lot is a lot of private donations, plus one of our biggest assets is the community thrift store, and Judy heads that program up, Judy Faber, and I want to tell you that's probably really she's got a fantastic crew working for her. We've got all kinds of stuff. We've got furniture, we've got, I don't know, you name it. Clothes, we got body wash, we got just dog food, cat food, all kinds of pet supplies. And a lot of that comes from our good friend Naomi that really volunteers a lot of time and energy in making sure that we have stuff that gets donated in her circle and comes our way. And we provide that at a really discounted price to everybody here in the valley. So I think that's really kind of making up the difference where the grants and some of the other donations leave off. And it's a great job, and it's a thankless job and sometimes overbearing, but I mean they do a really, really fine job. And thank you, Judy. I really appreciate it. Commodity-wise, September's commodities, we had 100 families. We served 325 individuals. The 3 Square rep was there. She looked at, all the stuff that she usually looks at. Outdated stuff, we didn't have any. There's only one thing we didn't have is a fire extinguisher in the commodity building, and Mike was good enough to supply one so we're covered with that now. And the only thing we're trying desperately to do now is try to get an automated update recording system so you have an ID card that you can just give to us. We can input the information automatically. We don't have to sit there laboriously and go through all the paperwork stuff that takes so much time. The group that are, Will and all the folks that pass out commodities, they do a great job of getting it out quick. It's, doing all the paperwork that takes the time. So other than that, thank you. Appreciate all your support.
With your forms for the 5-year plan, when we do our capital projects workshop, maybe we could do a combination one, because we want people to know that the senior center's for the town, which I think they know that, but just to reiterate.
Yeah, I'll put some stuff together and I'll do a presentation at that meeting.
Okay, great. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
All right. Since my joke didn't work on Dave, we'll go back, because I always pass him up, and it's just like, I thought he just didn't even react this time. No fun. Number 10, for possible action, discussion and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny the minutes from the town board meeting on August 22nd, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the ATV meeting on August 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Okay. I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was a good job. Okay. Number 12, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny request from the... No, number 12. For possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny request from Amargosa Valley Town School for their middle school trip to New York in the amount of $10,000.
Hi, my name is Ava Peru. I am the social worker here at Amargosa School. Bear with me today because I wasn't planning on doing this. The principal had to leave, so at the last minute she asked me to do it. So we'll go through this. So our request, somehow we screwed up when we put it on the agenda. It is for 2 different trips with different kids. So we want to give our students the best opportunities to succeed. And all of our students are free and reduced lunch, as you all know. And we have 2 trips that are coming up. One is to New York City and the other is to California. Okay. Breathe. Just let me breathe. Okay. So we're asking the town of Amargosa to donate $10,000 to the Amargosa Valley Schools to help cover the cost for the 2 trips. The New York City trip, the goal is to expand the students' horizons through their educational experiences because many of these kids have never seen the things that they're going to see and probably won't get the opportunity in their lifetime. So currently we have 17 students signed up, and they're going to be going from May 26th to the 30th. They're going to see a lot of significant locations such as the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, United Nations headquarters, and the 9/11 Memorial. Travel experiences such as this can transform how students see the world, helping them develop an understanding of cultural differences, expand their learning, and expose them to experiences they've yet to have. The total cost per student for that specific New York City trip is $2,300 a student. We've been fundraising. Oh, she might have that. The 8th grade trip has 15 students, and they want to, our goal is to honor and celebrate their achievements because they work really hard in school. And it is a tradition for them to go in 8th grade because a lot of times our kids don't get to go on a lot of field trips here. So it is, and with the students going together, they have a bonding experience before they go up to the high school where they're joined by other kids from Beatty. So they planned on going to an amusement park and a beach in Southern California. It's just a 2-day trip. But we're going right before spring break, and this is the accumulation of their middle school journey and offers them the opportunity to reflect upon what they've accomplished together. The total cost of the trip is $5,000. We are trying to fundraise, but and we've joined, so I'm doing the 8th grade trip, and Eddie Lou is doing the New York City trip, but we kind of went together because we don't want to overtax the people here by fundraising a lot. So when we do trips and things like this, we are investing in our students' futures and the future of Amargosa Valley. These trips give the students the experiences that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. And it will make them become more engaged, informed citizens. Oh my gosh. I'm stressed, I'm sorry. Let me just open my phone so it's easier for me. It bigger so I can read it on my screen. Sorry. So, students return with a new perspectives, increased confidence, and a sense of pride in their community in which they share with their families and peers. It exposes them to diverse cultural and educational experiences, and it helps to build leadership skills which can benefit Amargosa Valley in the future. These kids are going to be our leaders in this town, a lot of them. So I think having these experiences is going to be beneficial for them. And the last few years, we've been advocating to get the same opportunities for our students as Pahrump students have. And the middle school in Pahrump has offered a trip for the students for years. Actually, next year they're going out of the country. I think it's like Netherlands or something. And this is an opportunity for a sizable group of our students to experience one of the most vibrant, active cities in our nation, and they're going to be in awe, I just know. Oh, you're clicking me? Yeah. Okay. We've been fundraising for the last 6 months. Some efforts we've done is a bowling event, Panda Express days, selling chocolate, selling beef jerkies, and Snack Shack. And for the New York City trip, so my grandson is actually going on that, and the parents have to pay, like they have to set up a payment plan just in case we can't come up with enough money for them. So, I mean, I literally pay $90 every 2 weeks for my grandson to be able to go, because my fundraising is more for the other kids than my grandson. But we do have upcoming car washes, and someone who works at McDonald's is doing a McDonald's Day fundraiser. And there was a one-time donation of $1,000 from a Las Vegas businessman. So this isn't meant to detract you from Beatty, helping Beatty High School, because I think that we need to look out for each other, and many of their high school students are actually Amargosa Valley residents. So please consider helping us out. Can I add one more thing that Becca didn't add because I probably dropped the ball. We are actually partnering with Beatty on October 3rd. We're having a family and community event here in the community center. We're going to have entertainment. The kids are going to be singing some songs. We have other kids that are drumming. We're having a big potluck. And some students from Beatty are reading poetry. And then we're all going to come together and create a big community poem. So it's going to be cool. There's prizes, and I just wanted to add that we do have that on the calendar from October 3rd from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. Is there any questions?
Is that here on October 3rd? Okay.
Yeah, Beatty's coming down here.
Wow, impressed.
Rebecca Lucas, LUCAS. I just want to clarify for all of them out there who maybe don't know. When they come and support our middle school and go to all their games and buy food and snacks from the Snack Shack, that money also goes towards all of this, doesn't it?
That money we're trying to buy uniforms.
But, okay, so that goes to uniforms.
Going towards this.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you guys know, even if you didn't come and stay and watch the game, even if you just came and bought like 1 or 2 things from the Snack Shack, that still helps them in ways that you can't even imagine.
And I apologize again for not being prepared. I was not expecting to do this. Any
It can
questions?
be nerve-wracking, but I get it. I go through it all the time.
I would have had myself a little outline personally.
Good job.
Any questions? No questions.
You know what? I'm going to open this up for public comment. Well, first, I'm sorry. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and fund the $10,000 to the school.
Can I get a second? We have a motion that they fund this, the middle school for $10,000. Yeah, I have that question too, because I had to go to the restroom. Is this for the high school and, this is just the middle school? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So this is just for the middle school.
Isn't
Go ahead, Pat.
Isn't 12 for the?
There's 2. Number 12 is for the middle school for $10,000. And the next.
Just one.
Okay.
No, there is 2. There's one for there's 2 agenda items that are going to be similar. So Amargosa Valley just did their presentation for their donation, and here in a minute we're going to have Teresa Sullivan come up and do a presentation for Beatty High School. They're doing very similar things, but it's for 2 different schools and 2 different experiences.
Okay, do I have a second?
I have a question first.
Okay, let's get a second and let's open it up for discussion. Okay, I've got a second with Sara.
I
All right.
second that motion. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Pat.
Well, these seem to be mixed up in my here. Well, they're all mixed up. One says Amargosa and then it says Beatty. We're just doing the Amargosa one now.
Yeah, pull the microphone up so everybody can hear you.
Are all of the students eligible?
Yes.
And every student is going?
Not every student from the middle school is going, but I think 17 are going to, depending on the trip you're talking about. The trip to, with the 8th graders, every single student is going. The other one, there's 17 students. And some adults, but.
I have a question.
But we're
What's
paying
the
for our-
criteria to qualify for that trip?
They just wanted to go.
Not
Like
the
what do you
beach
mean?
one, the other one.
Um,
Washington. Is there academic requirements?
well, everyone has to be eligible.
New York, I'm
academic-
sorry.
The New York. Everyone has to be eligible to go on any trip, which,
What's
we
the
don't have
criteria, though? I mean, grades, attendance?
I don't know, honestly. I know that anyone, we've only have a couple of kids that are failing anything in our school right now. And anyone was able to come and go to the meetings and sign up to go to the trip. Because we started paying for that trip. Like, I started paying for this trip last year for my grandson. And anybody is eligible to go, because that's why we're trying all these different fundraising things. You mean coming up with money? Oh, yeah, they have to, they can't have any Fs. Oh, sorry. I'm a little confused and I'm a little nervous. But they can't have any Fs. They have to have more than a 2.0 grade point average, and they can't they can't be like a chronic absenteeism student. That means they can't miss a lot of school.
And do they have to pay a certain amount?
Yeah, for each student, for
New York?
For New York, each student it's $2,300.
Do the students themselves have to pay anything?
That's what we're fundraising for. If we get the money, they won't have to pay anything. The adults that are going, the chaperones will be paying for their own self, you know.
So this is for the 8th grade, correct?
No, that's for all of middle school.
To New York?
Yes.
How many kids are in the school?
Middle school is 30-something. So out of 30...
Oh, 30.
32 or something students, there's 17 of them are going.
So is that 7th and 8th grade, just so we're clear?
6th, 7th,
7th and 8th, thanks. Okay, all right. Okay. And it's $2,300 a child. So you're trying to raise 65,000?
No, I don't think it's that much, because like, I honestly.
All right, Becca.
Maybe 69,000?
40,000.
2,300? For 30 kids.
So 40,000.
39,000.
Oh, 17, not 30.
Yeah,
17
not
kids.
17 students, all right.
Not everybody signed up to go.
Right, and
Let's see if this clarification works.
Please.
There's 32 children in middle school. This opportunity was presented to all of them. The parents and the kids together got to decide whether that child wanted to go or not. And out of the 32 children, 17 decided they wanted to take this trip, and they started the fundraising last year. So like my son was a 5th grader last year, and he could have started fundraising last year because he went into 6th grade, and everything he fundraised last year would follow him into this year all the way up until they take this trip. So out of the 32, there's 17 kids plus some adult chaperones, but the adult chaperones are paying for themselves. So they need to come up with about $40,000 so all 17 kids can go.
Okay, thank you. So I was thinking, wow. So what happens if you fall short? What happens to how do you divide that up? I hate to be the buzzkill here.
I suppose a better question is, how close are you to your goal with the 10,000 you're asking for?
I know that I'm not, people who can afford it, we're paying for our own. If we can't get the funding for like our children, the ones who can afford it, like staff or any of that, we're paying for our own children because we're not fundraising. We're fundraising if they can get it, but if we can't get it, I'm paying for my own because it's coming out of my check.
Ava, honey, I'm not trying to.
I don't
put you
know
on
what
the
the answer
spot.
is right now because I honestly wasn't.
It's
doing
last
this-
minute.
This.
Rebecca, can you?
Yes, so please excuse Ava. Amanda was supposed to be here doing this presentation, but she had to leave early. I know bits and pieces of it just from talking with Amanda, and I speak Ava, so I understand what she's saying. But, so pretty much the ones that can afford to pay for it without fundraising are paying for it. This fundraising is mainly for the children who can't afford it, but they still want the experience.
So
Now,
kinda
what their
like
goal
last
is, yeah, so where they're at in reaching their goal, that I do not know. That would probably be an Amanda question. But from what I understand, it's those who can afford to pay it are just paying it. And then we're fundraising for those kids that are a little less fortunate and can't afford to pay for it on their own.
Do we know how many are paying their full boat of the 17?
That I do not know. Again, probably an Amanda question. Honestly, probably should have called her and had her talk to this on the phone.
For dogs were kenneled until from 6 o'clock this morning.
Is there a deadline for you to put money in for this next year?
Yeah, what's the when do you have to have all the money back?
April.
So if we maybe tabled this till a future date and we got all of our...
Need more
Yeah.
information.
I think we're missing a lot of information that Amanda had that we just can't, they can't make an educated decision because we're missing information.
Yep.
So, sounds good to me.
Nothing against you,
I
Ava.
do
I
know
think
about my
Amanda
event.
needs to answer some
Yeah,
questions.
absolutely. And I do know about my portion, which is the California one, because it's it was almost $6,000, and we have almost $1,000 right now for that specific thing. But then we kind of combined our efforts so that if we get more money for the California trip, we can put it towards the kids who can't afford to go on the other trip.
Okay, so because I only got the information for the New York trip, the 8th grade trip did not make it on the agenda, so no matter what,
Right.
we will need to table this so I can reword that agenda item properly, and we need more information to make an educated decision on the New York trip.
So let me, just to be clear, so we get it right next time, is it 10,000, 5,000 for your trip, 5,000 for the New York trip?
Is that how you want it?
Technically, yes. But if we collect the money that we need for I say we, meaning me, the one that I'm working on, then that money will go towards students who their family can't afford to go on the New York City trip. Because
If they've reached their total for the 8th grade trip,
Okay.
then all of the extra funds roll over to the New York trip so that they can help. One fundraiser goes to both things. Does that make
So
sense?
it's a total of $10,000.
Yes, total
for
of
both.
10,000 to be split across both trips.
So when you write this up, Becca, it's going to be, there's going to be two, not
It's
one.
Gonna be 100% differently, but they only pitched the New York City one to me by the deadline, so I did not know anything about the 8th grade trip.
Okay, just to be, so you know. Okay.
She only
I have another question. The Beatty trip.
We're not on that yet.
Just
That's
doing
next.
Amargosa?
That's next, yeah. We're going to, well, I'm going to ask, can you retract your motion and
So
we'll
I will
ta-
retract my motion to fund this trip.
and the second, retract the second?
I will take back my second.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to table this. I want to table this until we get everything clear and, the dollar figures and there's two trips. No, I'm just going to table it. Yeah. Okay. No, but you got to table it so we know we can bring it back. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ava. Where'd you go? Okay. Yeah. That's a bad position to be in, I know. Okay. Number 12, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny request from, oops, oh, I'm sorry, 13. Jeez. Okay. Amen. Need a pointer. 13, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny request from Beatty High School Close-Up Program for the amount of $10,000 for their close-up trip to Washington, D.C. and New York City. Oh, okay. I knew somebody had to be here. Due to technical problems, you have that in your backup, her presentation, pictures and all, so
12, but it's not, it's number 13.
just state and spell your last name.
Apologize for that. Good evening. My name's Teresa Sullivan. I'm the counselor at Beatty High School, elementary school and middle school. I have been there for a number of years, and in fact, for several years, I was here in Amargosa as well, kind of off and on. Beatty High School, oh, it's coming up. What the heck? Oh, how funny. So when you tipped it forward, it was up there? All the way. I put my note card somewhere. Great. Okay, here we go again. We have a very long history of taking students to Washington, D.C. We started 38 years ago, so from 1986 until 2022, we have taken 344 students to Washington, D.C. In that group included is, I didn't get a full count, but from 2016 to current, 45 Amargosa students and 22 Beatty students. Those are the years I've been doing it, so I can only account for that. Every 2 years, we take juniors and seniors. We go through a long process. They're all welcome. We invite everybody. And then they decide if they can go or not. All of our students are required to make a deposit with close-up in order to go. After that, we fundraise and request donations and try to meet our goals. I think almost every family in Beatty and Amargosa have some member of their family over this last 38 years who has gone to close-up, has participated in it. It's a truly amazing educational program. Close-up focuses on civic education. Students learn how our government works. They experience it. They're part of it. They get to meet our congressmen and women in person. They get to spend time in the Capitol. Close-up itself provides the education. They have study groups that take them to, or they do study visits to each of the memorials. And then in the evenings, they come back to the hotel and they do workshops, mock Congress, debates. And so they are busy from, say, 8, 9 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. at night. We have had so many of our students who have come back who are so actively involved in our community now. We feel like, as Ava said, just want to echo that, this really enhances our community's involvement, our student community involvement. Many of our past attendees are now part of Beatty PTA or the Lions Club or on different boards. So I feel like it really does pay off. It shows our kids, they can see it with their own eyes, who they can be, where they can go, what they can do. We are a Title I school as well. Almost all of our students are low income, and this opportunity doesn't come around very often. When they can see and experience these things, it changes who they are, it changes their goals and aspirations, makes it doable, makes them know that they can do and be anybody they want to, and do anything. I do have a nice little slide on here for funding. The last trip we made was 22-23. However, that money came from 1920. We had fundraised. You guys gave us $10,000. BTAB gave us $5,000. We were done. We had raised every penny we needed. We had paid it. We had our plane tickets. We were like ready to go. And of course, you all know what happened in 2020. The week before we were supposed to go, everything shut down. Very generously, Amargosa and several of our donors allowed us to hold that money in an account, and we used it for the next trip. So I do have to say, 22 was a little bit easier on me. Here I am again. So it's been a lot of work again to fundraise and request donations this year. The price has increased also. In 22, it was $1,827 for a full 5 days in DC. Now, this year, this is the first year we've added New York City onto the end of our trip. So we have 5 full days in Washington, D.C., 2 days in New York City. That has increased our costs, not just because of the increase, but also because of inflation, to $3,075 per student. I will say that just this week, I was able to secure a grant from Close-Up itself in the amount of $3,000 that takes $200 per student off. So now we're down to, what is that, $28.75. So that was a big help. I'm trying to follow my slides and my notes both. So. If I could show you the pictures, I had pictures that our students took last year, And they really are some amazing kids. We had a huge, or in 22, we had a huge group that year. And it was a little chaotic getting through the airports and getting where we go, but we made it there and back safely, didn't lose any kids, it was all good. One of the students I like to tell you about, because it did touch me, is Carlos Flores. He was the youngest of, or is the youngest of the 6 in that family. And he was the youngest, the last one in the family to go. His parents went with him and had become citizens and were able to meet their congressman. And between all the kids getting to go, the parents getting to go, talking to Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto and Horsford, it was, it was just emotional. It was touching. Some of the other things that I think are really meaningful when we take kids are the actual experience of, say, the Holocaust Museum. For that one for me is always incredibly emotional. And I think it's important for the kids to see this, to see it and make it more real to them. What they read in books isn't necessarily real, but that museum drives it home. The stack of shoes, the cattle cars that they were put in, it changes their perspective on something that happened in history that we need to pay attention to. I'm truly looking forward to seeing the 9/11 memorial with them. Our kids, of course, were not born at that time, so again, they don't fully understand what we felt, what that did to us when it happened. And I think it's really important for them not to only have that knowledge, but to really have that, that deep feeling of pride, of who we are and how we fight back and take care of our country. I think without pulling the slides up, I think I've covered everything. Our total goal was $58,150, and I broke that down into, we were hoping to raise about $35,000 in donations. The students to date, with their payments and the fundraising they have already done, have raised almost $10,000. We are currently running the concession stand for volleyball and football, which is why none of the kids could make it here tonight. They planned to come, but the games are still going even when I left, so they weren't able to make it tonight. They're either playing volleyball or working the concession. So we hope to raise another $5,000 with that to get us up to our goal. A little concerning that there could be a shortage, so we really need to go beyond the $35,000 donation and a little more fundraising. But honestly, in all those years we've done it, we've never run short by the time we reach the end. We'll come up with something. We keep working and working until we get it. So that's my request, and I hope I remember Pat from last time, who was very gracious in helping us. I think the rest of you are all new, right? So I hope that you guys can see fit to help us out.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion in a second so we can open it up for comment.
I'll make the motion to provide the $10,000 in funding for the Beatty High School close-up program for their trips to Washington, D.C. and New York City.
I'll second that motion as stated.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open this up for comment. Pat, you want to go first? Okay. Brenda?
Well, my son actually went to Cottingim, so I know how important it is. It makes a big impact. Can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Pull it close.
My son went to close-up when he was in high school, and it made a big impact on him. And he actually served in the military.
Mike? Mike, you have a comment? Sara? Okay. I can attest that this has been going on in Southern California for a while, and it really does make a difference. And just even as an adult, when you go to DC, it's really something. And New York, That's just a hot mess, but it's a great hot mess, you know. It's something every child should see DC. And so that begs the question, is there academic criteria for this?
Yes, ma'am, there is. Okay. We started in our very first meetings, and we started in January. The students and the parents have to sign an expectations list, and that includes their eligibility, which is the minimum of a 2.0 GPA, no D's or F's, and of course attendance is a factor as well as their participation in fundraising. That's one of the things too. They don't make money if they don't fundraise. So for instance, we did a Bighorn car wash, outdoor vehicle car wash. If they didn't show up and wash cars, they don't make any money. We did Little Caesars pizzas. If they don't sell pizza, they don't make any money. So those kinds of things, they have to make up the difference then.
I really like the New York piece.
I'm excited for it.
Ellis Island, it's
Yes.
just something that will impact them for the rest of their lives. I really am a believer in this close-up program. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Does anybody have comment?
I'll go next. One of my concerns, is there anybody left behind that really wants to go?
Not if we can help it. We bend over backwards to make sure every single student has that opportunity. We have a fund we'll pull the deposit out of and make that for them if they don't have the money. We make it as clear as we can to them and their parents that we will make sure that that the funding's available if they're not able. We have some of our teachers, community members even in Beatty, will just throw in extra, hey, do you have a kid who's struggling? Let me help. So we bend over backwards to make sure they all take advantage of this opportunity. Unfortunately, they don't, but we really push hard so that they can all go.
Colette?
Colette Johnson, Johnsson. I just wish that I had this kind of an opportunity when I was in school. It didn't exist in the schools that I was in. I mean, it might have in my first high school, but I did a lot of moving around. It is what it is. But I think that the value that it instills in our students for what our country stands for and how it runs and how we do what we do to protect our freedoms, etc. I think the value is priceless. So I do hope you guys approve the funding, as well as the funding for the middle school next time.
I want to go. I'll be a chaperone. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Thank you all so much.
Thank
We
you very
truly
much for everything
appreciate
you
it.
guys do. Buried my agenda. Okay. Number 14, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or deny a letter to be sent to the Governor Lombardo and Dwayne McClinton, the Governor's Office of Energy, regarding the negative effects of solar projects on the town of Amargosa Valley in rural Nevada. Mike, would you like to read that?
Yeah, I'm not going to read the letter because I have emailed it out to you a couple times. But this is from Dwayne McClinton, who is the person in charge of the Governor's Office. He's the director for the Nevada Governor's Office of Energy, and we have talked to him a couple of times about green energy projects and this and that and the other. The basic gist of this letter is that he thinks Nevada should be doing more, generating more kilowatt hours. He actually chides the BLM as being too restrictive due to the tortoise population And one of the things now with the new BLM projects is that they can't, that one you saw from that project south of Pahrump, where they just leveled it off and put it in, they can't do that anymore. They have to little rivers and valleys and stuff. And going through his letter, that's all they are concerned about, is how many kilowatts are being produced. The understanding of this, it looks to me like he would just like to bulldoze the whole place border to border and put these things up. And just like I've said before, there is zero consideration in this letter for what's happening to us. There is no statement any place in the 4 or 5 pages, whatever it is, of what's happening to us in the rurals. So we have put together a letter. We don't know really what it's good for, but we do have to take a stance. I've been in touch with 5 other counties about this, and hopefully every one of them will make a statement. But it just addresses all of how it affects us with our water, our open land, our air. They will never, the ground is not ever going to recover from this. So there are permanent losses, and there's no compensation. Let's see, what does he say here? He talks about approximately $7 billion in taxes. That ain't right. That is not right because of the property tax abatement. And even when property taxes are paid, you've all seen your tax bills that come through. You know how far down that ladder Amargosa Valley is? We're way down that thing. So we don't get our fair share. And then also 15,000 jobs. There may be some good union jobs putting that in, but once it's done, no. There's somebody sitting off in Timbuktu watching a computer, and nobody is here. So we took offense at every one of those. What it'll do, probably not a darn thing, but at least the rurals are going to, and we've been in the press, and actually you should be, we have somewhat of a star in our midst here. We are, in the Sunday Review Journal, there would be an op-ed by Ms. Allen that is going out to everybody. So we are, all of our jumping up, down, carrying on, we are getting the word out there. Whether it's going to have a go or not, I don't know. But at least our statement is being made. So I will make the motion that we sign that letter and send her off.
I second that motion as stated.
Thank you. One of the things about this letter from the governor's Department of Energy, there's a statement in there that basically they want to exclude the Amargosa Valley from any studies, like Tortoise, just get it done, because it would cost them 15 gigawatts towards the goal of the state. Well, I got news. Just solar is about 40% of the goal for the country. So we're way ahead of the, we're doing our part. So we can keep it out of the town. There's certain things we can't do anything about. We understand that. But we've got to fight from every corner, because that was just not fair. It's like, we're just expendable. Make us extinct? No, I don't think so. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have a comment on the board?
No, I agree that we need to send the letter and try and keep as much in touch with these people as we can and let them know that we're here.
Pat? No? Okay.
I think everything's been said.
Okay.
And well said.
Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anybody? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment.
Aye.
And call for the vote. I have 2 ayes. Aye.
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 Okay, it passes 5-0. Thank you. I know it's a long meeting. I'm sorry, folks. Okay. Number 15, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend or deny setting a date for the time for a capital projects workshop meeting from the following dates and times. Dave, this is why I wanted to get your input on these 3 dates as well. Thursday, October 10th, Monday, October 21st, Thursday, October 24th.
Rebecca Lucas, LUCASW, Town Clerk. I just wanted to add so the board knows, these dates were selected and already approved. There's nothing on our calendars. When I made this up, those dates, there was no previous meetings, there was no conflict of interest for any members on the town board meeting, or on the town board, the date I made this. So if anything came up within the last week, I didn't know about it, but these have already been vetted and all of that.
Yep, good deal. I know that Monday at 6:30 would work for me on the 21st.
How about the 10th?
Not for me. Pardon me? I don't have the 10th open. Okay. So, okay, Thursday's kind of set for us, right? So if we go Thursday, October 24th at 5:30? Be an hour before the town board meeting. That would probably work out better for everybody, so they can just roll it into one. Probably get more people here. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we set the Capital Works Project workshop for Thursday, October 24th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m.
Second.
I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Number 16, for possible action, discussion and deliberation to approve, amend, or approve or deny establishing position for town manager and set job description and compensation and advertise the position. Can I get a motion?
Yes. I would like to make a motion that we discuss and deliberate or approve, amend, and or deny establishing a position of town manager and set job description and compensation and advertise position.
What's your motion? You just read the whole thing.
Right.
Approve and amend or approve or deny?
As read. I make a motion as read. Because
Okay, we'll go back and
Yeah.
clarify the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, for discussion. And a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, open for public comment. John?
John Boston. I'd like to know where this description of the town manager is. Because the last time the town manager was brought up was in 2013. And the policy for the board where defined what the job of each person was, is there was a description of a town manager there. But a town manager has never been considered since. And now you take and put on the agenda town manager. Where do we look to see what this town manager is going to do? What is going to be the job description? What they're going to do? I feel that there's inadequate information here about the town manager.
It's in the backup, John.
Pardon?
It's in the backup, the job description. And we had a town manager until 20.
Well, what NRS or what resolution or ordinance are you applying?
The one you passed in 2013, we had a town manager up till 2020.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Could you speak into the microphone or turn up the volume?
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
I'll yell. Okay. You had that in 2013. We had a town manager till 2020. So I don't know. We just didn't have a town manager after 2020 when we left, and your board took a hold.
Okay, but you're bringing forth the job of town manager, And as a member of the town, I'd like to see especially what you're doing here.
It's in the backup. It's in your backup.
Okay.
There's a job description back there, John.
I'll read the job description, John.
It's an excellent job description, by the way.
The job description and duties. Schedule town and park staff. Office. Do I have to leave it this loud? Park and community center complex. Regular work hours. Special events. Community center use. Meetings. Maintain supplies and equipment at park. Irrigation supplies. Irrigation system. Now, considering tourism and economic development. Meet with prospective new businesses on available space. Procedure for new businesses coming into the valley. Existing businesses help with any county, state, or federal issues. Licensing, permits. Coordinate with county and state agencies. Communicate with the following agencies and departments on issues affecting Amargosa Valley. County departments, manager, planning, EMS, sheriff, public works, road maintenance, finance, commissioners, district attorney, sheriff, water district, grants, state agencies, Department of Taxation, budget, reporting, attorney general, governor, Nevada Department of Energy, Governor's Office of Economic Development, Nevada Department of Water Resources, Nevada Department of Environmental Protection, the federal agencies, Bureau of Land Management, Death Valley National Park, Ash Meadows, Department of Interior, Department of Defense, Department of Fish and Game, Department of Energy, Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Jackie Rosen, or whoever wins, local agencies, Amargosa Conservancy, Tim Shaw Shoshone Tribe, Nature Conservancy, renewable energy, developers, solar generation, their locations, setbacks, fee structure, hazards, noise control, property tax abatement, construction and connection schedules, water use, transmission companies, location and setbacks, utilities, VEA, NV Energy, CalISO, contractors, wage, $30 an hour, 30 hours per week, commiserate with background, benefits, PERS, no health insurance. And I might add, that's all happening right now for free. Go ahead. Rebecca?
Rebecca Lucas, LUCAS. Currently, I am in that office, and yes, we have discussed previously the duties of a town manager, but I do have problems with this because half of what's on here was what you hired me to do in 2022 when I was full-time at $18 an hour. So everything you stated in this first bit here, I used to do until I got hired back. Setting the schedule, working in the office, maintaining park and community center. I walk this block every Monday to see what everybody needs. Scheduling the special events for the community center, for the park, for the town, making sure that it's ran properly, all that stuff I do besides the irrigation system and irrigation supplies. That falls under park maintenance, and whoever ran that, I let them have it. Under tourism, economic development, I get it. I'm not some big business CEO. I don't know how to do all of that, but for starters, I'd like to point out I am the only person left on the Tourism and Economic Development Committee, if there's even one left. I stuck it out, everybody left. So when it comes to big events, it's just me. I would also like to point out, with existing businesses, helping with the county, state, federal issues, licensing permits, coordinating with county and state agencies, I already do that. With the Airbnbs, with everything. That's something that fell under my job description. As far as talking to county departments, you can ask road maintenance, public works, the sheriff's department, and the EMS. Just here in this valley, I speak to them. Jessica, she doesn't mind me saying, but I talk to Jessica on a daily basis. Daily basis, I talk to her and figure out what she needs. I'm not trying to take any digs at Mike or what you're trying to do. This just, it infuriates me. because this is what you hired me to do in 2022. And then I get it, I left. And Mike took over. But then I came back with the promise of, we will get you full-time, you just have to work part-time for a little while. And I only got a $2 an hour raise. This person's gonna make $10 an hour more than me and work 10 extra hours more than me. Because I only work 20 hours a week at $20 an hour. And this person, depending on qualifications, gonna get $30 an hour at 30 hours a week. That's just a little insulting to me.
Okay, thank you.
Waylon Lucas, LUCAS. A question I have too, we got 2 part-time park employees, 2 office part-time employees. Why are we making this job when we can't even afford a full-time person in there right now? As you stated, 3 other meetings. And one time I asked this question before to Mike, and Carolyn interrupted and took over, so now I'm asking the question again. Why are we making a full-time position? Okay, it's still 30 hours. She works 20 hours a week. Mike's supposed to be an interim, 6 months. We're a year into it. And I also want to know who made this job description, because she was obviously blindsided, so where'd it come from? That's a conflict of interest right there. On numerous occasions, and a town clerk getting paid while he's on the board is another conflict of interest. So I can keep taking digs. This town manager job, I want to know when it posts, because I'm going to apply for it too. Because if Mike wrote the job description, that's illegal and he can't apply for it. Thanks.
I know that you normally don't allow a person to speak the second time, but looking at this, there's no mention of what you're going to pay per day, per hour, per minute. There's nothing about the benefits, what's going to be the insurance and etc.
It's on the back page.
Okay, I didn't see that, but otherwise the rest of it just seems like a bunch of topics. Doesn't explain what's going to be done on each topic and so on, and I just don't feel that this is adequate backup. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have one more thing, Waylon Lucas, LUCAS. Why don't we focus on making all the part-time employees full-time before we try and present to the town another job? Because we keep saying that you can't afford to have Becca full-time or Mike full-time. I don't care who's in the office full-time. Just make someone full-time. We don't need a town manager. We need a town clerk. It seemed to be proven for many times. Shelley Cattermiss was the town clerk. She didn't have a manager. Why are we bringing one on now? Everybody that has been in that office has been full-time until this board took over. And it's a slap in the face. Because Beatty has one, Prump has one. Everywhere there's a full-time position has that clerk position. And there's not another board member in that office getting paid.
So here's the thing. When you mentioned the last time you came up, you intimated there were 2 sets of books because there were 2 people in the office.
That's how it runs. I'm
the
the general former.
Stop, please.
Well,
please,
no, can I
please.
talk?
Not right now.
Carolyn, you always cut me off.
No, right now, please. The deputy town clerk, their function is by NRS. And when Becca was here, we had come off a board of 2 years that was very dysfunctional. And she helped with me, because I got in there and helped pick up bills that were a year and a half old and things like that. And we didn't have anybody. And I leaned on her. I took her for a lot of the stuff here. I took her to a BLM meeting, and this was when all of this we've been talking about tonight had just started.
Then why not utilize her and make her full-time if she's that great?
And it has morphed into something that is at a level that the deputy town clerk, She can go as a secretary, but not as a board member, or not as anything that I don't even know how to describe it without saying what's going on. But this is up for discussion, and there's no need to get nasty. I'm listening to Rebecca, and I get that. I get that.
I'm not trying to get nasty. My only thing was, like I said before, with the books. And that's an accurate statement, because I work for the Nevada test site, and as the general foreman, I do all the books. If I had somebody else coming in, taking over where I left off, you think they'd know what I did if I wasn't in there? No. You have to sit down and teach people every little process, because everybody runs everything different. So therefore, there might be 2 sets of books. But without knowing, you don't know if you're not in there every day.
Colette, go ahead.
Colette Johnson, JOHNSON. I just have a quick question, since a lot of people were a bit surprised by a manager position opening up. What does this mean for Becca's job? Is there going to be a manager and a clerk?
Okay. So what we've got coming at us in basically the next 2 years, we're going to need a full-time deputy town clerk, and we're going to need a part-time town manager that handles all the balls that are coming at us. I mean, we're doing it right now, and it's a lot. It's almost too much at times. And like I said, the deputy town clerk is driven by NRS. And did we give her extra things? Yes. However, and it begs repeating, she left, she moved away and came back, and we've taken a hit on our budget. So
Well, because of that, that's not a crime
that's,
that we can come back.
you know what, I'm sorry. You can't talk from there, you can come up here.
Okay,
But anyway.
So do you plan in the near future, say the next 6 months, to give Becca a full-time position?
We're trying to get there, yeah, because with what's coming at us. But like I said, we've got to work with what we've got. And I have to plan for what's coming at us.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that the town's going to need a little more information to absorb.
That's
this.
fine. That's fine. That's what this is about.
Right.
Okay? And it has to be published. Right. So if Waylon wants to apply, he certainly can. And he can see how the government works. There's not 2 sets of books. So it's an impossibility.
Okay, aside from all that, I'm Nita Lucas, LUCAS, and Rebecca did a great job the year she was here. And yes, she moved away, but she came back. So, and I've been in this town over 20 years, and as long as I've been in this town, our town maintenance park worker, the deputy clerk, they've always been full-time positions. How could we afford it all back then, but it's like all of a sudden, now we can't, but yet we're trying to create another position. I mean, I also, what bothers me is that you guys never seem to really give much focus on the younger generation. I'm retired, my husband's retired, a lot of us are retirement age. What is to become of our younger generation? Why are they not getting any opportunity here? Don't you see it as an opportunity too? And they're trainable, everybody's trainable. I was an accountant, you can be cross-trained in less than a month. So if there's something she doesn't know, I don't think it's because she's not bright enough to learn it.
Nobody
that's
said
a little,
that.
yeah, that's well, in a way I thought I heard that, but that she wasn't able to perform everything.
No, not
Okay,
at all.
well, I
That's not what I
misunderstood.
said.
Okay, I'm sorry, I take that back, I misunderstood.
I'm one of her biggest supporters.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean, you guys do have an intention at some near date to make her full-time?
We are going to need all hands on deck, but with what's coming at us.
Well, do we need all hands on deck for the town manager too? That position?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Because I'm one person.
Right.
And it's caused a stroke, okay? So I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a board coming on, brand new. They're not even here. They don't even come to the meetings.
What's the next one? When you finish.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just a little concerned, like I said, for even the town maintenance guy. Why doesn't he have the opportunity either? You know, like I said, all these years we've been able to do it, and now all of a sudden we can't. It's kind of confusing, but that's all I wanted to say.
The town maintenance guy didn't want full-time. We have 2 part-times, and one of them is ill. So they're out. So
yeah, well, then we should have somebody apply that wants the opportunity and, you know, to be able to do that.
Legally, we can't replace him until we know what's happening. So
okay.
There's things that we have to do.
Okay, this is all my fault. I'll take all the blame. Because when I was at a planning board meeting with Grid Alliance, they want to do a developer's agreement. Okay, I don't have the time in my life to go through a developer's agreement, make sure all of our things are correct and everything else with the DA. It's becoming more than what is called for. And so this was my idea to float this idea out there to see if we have somebody who wants to do this job, who is capable of doing this job. But I don't want to just have interim people doing stuff. I want it to be a regular job or not.
I have one thing I want to add now that I apologize now that I've calmed down a bit. I'll be the first one to say there are some things in this description I can't do, and I admit to that. Like she said before, when the solar first started, I was going to all these meetings. I was taking the concerns that the town would give me, and I was giving them directly to BLM in the meetings. But when it comes to meeting with prospective new businesses on available space, procedure for new businesses coming into the valley, I don't know that. I only know how to handle businesses that are already here. But when it comes to communicating with the state agencies, I have no leg to stand on when it comes to talking to the Attorney General, the Governor, Department of Energy, the Governor's Office, Department of Water Resources, Nevada Department of Environmental Protection. I don't know how to do that because they're right, I left. And that's when they picked all of that up. So I don't know how to do that. Can I learn how to do it? Yes. Do they have the time to train me? Probably not. But there's a few things on here that, like I said, fall under my job description. So to take them from me and give them to the town manager, it makes me look at this and be like, where's my future going to be?
I understand, Becca. I understand that because you make a great point. That's why this is open. Brenda wanted this, and I need it. I need it, okay? All the things you do the time, the work hours, all that. You can do all of that. That's fine. I have no problem taking that out of here. Because the things I need you to do all of the above up here, except the irrigation. That might not be great. And maintain the supplies and the equipment in the park. All those, the last 3, that goes under it can be under your purview. That's fine. Because you are the face of the office. You're the first line of defense. And it's sad that we've been splitting up the hours because we need somebody there to answer the phones. The rest of it, as far as the Tourism and Economic Committee, that, I don't know what's going to happen with that. This is just for the development, what we're going through right now, all the growth. We're in the middle of, Grid Alliance, they need a laydown yard. We have the connections. We're making all those connections because we've been working with these people a couple years. It's nothing against you, absolutely nothing. I would love to sit down with you and go over this. Oh yeah, for sure. Because this doesn't negate what you're doing, because you're doing some of it. It's a shared opportunity. Right now, because everybody's part-time, you're the afternoon, he's the morning. That's pretty much why. But that's why we have all those whiteboards. You know, I can't keep up with everything that needs to be done. I am down in the bottom of this right now, and I count on you and Mike to do the agendas, to round up everything. You know, I sent you, hey, make a flyer for the trunk or treat. At least I'm thinking of the trunk or treat. You know, I used to be the only one because we've lost the young people, and that's not because of anything. I mean, the young people come together for Christmas party or whatever, and we're right there for them. You know, you were part of that. You know, you told me they need this, they need that. We made it happen. That's teamwork. There's not anything about that. But for Mike and I right now, we're buried. We're buried. And our dance card is full. And for me, the wake-up call was the stroke. It's, I need help. I need the help. So we're going to table this, and you and I are going to meet. The three of us are going to meet. And if anybody has any questions, you can call me. I have no problem with that. But, you know, Brenda's been after me for 6 months to do this. And I made this job description and did not sit down with you. Haven't had the time, and I apologize. So I'm going to table this till later, so I can meet with Rebecca. Huh? Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah. First of all, I do go back when Shelley was in charge of the office, and she did work part-time. But she didn't just do the office. She did Amargosa Days by herself. She did Thanksgiving and Christmas by herself. She did a hell of a lot more than just the office. On the other hand, Becca, you quit and moved. And fortunately, we had Mike that was able to take over the office and run it in your absence. And then you came back. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I think you were out of order to rehire her. It should have been re-advertised, I believe. You hired her back when she came back to town, and I think that should have gone to advertisement because she had quit. She had left. She had quit. But I think the town manager job is a fantastic idea. We've needed one. And with all the things that are going on with lithium, with the solar, we need another person in that, as you know, we need another person. Thank you.
Well, in the time that she was gone, everything ramped up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything ramped up. All these doors that I was getting opened, they were opening, and they were listening, and I didn't have Becca to go with me, and I grabbed Mike one day and I said, you need to go with me, you know. And I've done it with, well, he's gone, Dave Hall. I was dragging Dave Hall just as a witness because of stuff like this, you know. The town says, oh, you know, what are you doing? And I need a witness sometimes. And it's unfortunate because I can't say everything that's happening. And it's irritating and frustrating for me. But we've had a town manager from 2013 to 2018 and with a break in there, and then 2019 to the end of 2020. So this isn't something new. It's just, and that was a part-time as well. It's just now we have every reason in the book to have one. Because there's so much coming at us. And, but I will circle back with Becca. We'll have a meeting. And I apologize that I wrote this. I really do, without talking to you. But Brenda had really, I wanted on this agenda, that and the fire chief. So, okay. And I have to do what the board says. So I apologize, Becca.
Am I able to say one last thing, Carolyn?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I get it. Everybody wants a town manager. Like I said, why don't we work on getting full-time employees before the part-time employees? And before we bring another position in. Because it just seems like we're spending more and more money for 6 positions when we can have 3 or even 4. I mean, and then the NRS code 269.071 clearly states that it's a conflict of interest. And Nevada statute.
What's a conflict of interest? I've got to ask.
A board member that is the clerk being in that office getting paid to do another job.
It is not.
It is. It's the Nevada state law.
I cleared it before we did it.
Okay.
Okay, so. Okay. All right, we're going to move along. This one ought to be fun too then. Number 17, for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend, or approve or deny advertising for fire department position of light duty maintenance and administration part-time. So before we get into anything, this isn't a fire chief because we've never paid for a fire chief. This position was what Bruce was under. So we're just going to replace Bruce, but not put him in the original, the part-time. And Jessica's doing a really great job. She's running all the everything. We got to figure out this guy's job. But this is something that we're going to need a fire chief, and that's a whole other ball game later. Because our fire department's a volunteer fire department, and they vote on the fire chief. But when we get into the ordinance that we have, they have requirements. Fire 1, Fire 2, oxygen, things like that, training. We can hire somebody to train. But right now, Jessica needs help. She's even taking out the trash, So we want to open up Bruce's position again, and the same as he was originally hired, part-time. Okay. So, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we look into replacing Bruce at a part-time position.
Okay, can we advertise? Because that's what we need to do. Could you make
to advertise for this position?
All right. Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment?
I'm not going to lose it, I promise. Rebecca Lucas, LUCAS. I just had one question, and that's job description and everything. Do we have one for this, for when we do go to post it?
We have Bruce's, but I want to meet with Jessica because, she's the medical director for the fire department.
Correct.
And so she's doing all of that, but she's also assumed all of Bruce's things.
Okay, so we're going to get a more refined.
Split it up, yeah.
Okay.
Give her some breathing room.
Jessica Cattermas, Kadrmas. It only makes sense if it's something that's about me that I need to come and talk about it.
I appreciate that.
I am one of those employees here in town where I want to stay part-time. I don't want to be full-time. I was asked about being full-time and I don't want it. I like being part-time. Yeah, I also volunteer with the fire department. I'm the face you see when you call 911 at 3 in the morning. I'm one of them. So I like my sleep. So being full-time in the office and volunteering is just, I don't know how Bruce did it. The dude was a superhuman. Not a real person, I swear.
Too much for one person.
It is a lot.
Anybody.
And as the person that has temporarily assumed it for so long, it is very stressful, especially within my 20 hours a week that I have. So I really do need the help, especially somebody that can go and wash the trucks that I'm way too short to touch would be great. And meeting with somebody to refine that job description would be cool, because a lot of things have kind of shifted with Bruce leaving as to what I take care of. And so, alrighty, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Anybody else? I'm going to open it up for board member comments. Brenda?
Well, and I know that we will not be able to get somebody just like Bruce, but Jessica needs help. Our fire department needs help.
Yeah, we've met 3 hours one time with Jack, who's the interim chief, and trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what we can do, because we never have paid for a fire chief. And it was brought up in that meeting when I said, the ordinance, we matched the ordinance, there's a lot of work to do. And they immediately said, we pick the fire chief. So there's another hurdle. When all this starts in, the next 3 to 4 years, we're going to have to do some ciphering. And that's all this ball that's rolling, we've got to get going on it. So even though you've been after me for 6 months to do this, it's number one, money, because we don't have any, what we're going to need, we don't have it yet. That's part of the negotiations that Mike and I have been doing with these developers and things like that. And now with the county. So we can kind of see the forest for the trees, but that's not going to happen for at least 2 years. So we can't spend money that we don't have. But I agree, we've got the second, we got the motion that we will develop well, actually, you know what? We're going to have to table it till the next meeting. I'll meet with Jessica. We'll do the job description. We'll bring the job description back and then just vote on it and then advertise it. I'm sorry. And you're getting married and everything else, right? What did you say? Yeah, let's because we don't have enough information to advertise it.
All right, so since we don't have enough information, I will rescind my motion to advertise.
Okay.
I'll take back the second.
Okay, so we're going to table this, and I will meet with Jessica. Okay. All right. All right, general public comment for all of you that have hung in there. Up to a 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item. Ava? Please state and spell your last name.
My name is Ava Prue, Proulx. I just want to say, I work at the school, and our school is supposed to use this gym a lot, and Becca used to work here full-time, and there was another lady that used to work here full-time. And I have to say that I have never, ever had a problem with Becca with setting up anything. However, I have had problems with, your school, you guys can't use it today because we double booked and we have whatever going on, and the school has to not use the gym. and not be able to play sports here or not have our gym classes here, which is what our contract is. So, but I do want to say that I've never had that problem with Becca or the other lady doing it full time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, board member comments.
We have, I met with the county commissioners on September 4th for our CDBG grant. And so we're just in the mix. We're not chosen or anything yet. But we are trying to get ADA compliant restrooms in the park.
Pat?
Two things. When we get our backup generator, this facility is going to be a shelter in the summer, in the winter, if we lose our electricity. And I want to look into setting up some supplies for the possibility of that happening, like cots, blankets, pillows, etc. Also, the University of Reno has an extension program for children's projects. Pahrump and Tonopah have a full-time person doing these projects, and they have over 15 to 20 different projects in Pahrump and in Tonopah for the kids. We have one thing out here from them, and that is, I believe once a month they send out a project to the library. I want to have that person in charge of the Pahrump come out and tell us what she does, what's available, and how we can get more things for our children out here. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
I have nothing at this time.
Mike? Nothing? Okay. On October 20th, I'm taking an eco flight over the entire area that we're looking at for solar. That's going to be sponsored by the Amargosa Conservancy. That's something they've been doing, I guess, in the small plane, so pray for me. Anyway, Sunday, as Mike mentioned, I have an op-ed that's been picked up in the Review Journal. It's basically what's happening to us and how dangerous, and they need to really look at this. I have to make a comment. The younger generation. We advertise, we ask. I have trained 3 deputy town clerks prior to Becca, the younger generation. And it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. We try. There's not a lot of people that even apply. And a lot of them, one was lived in Tacoma and drove in every day, so we kind of knew that wasn't going to last for very long. And, she said, I can't make the drive anymore. So, yeah, I want the young people to do more than volunteer for events. I want them to step up. I need them to step up. I'm getting old. And, okay, we're all old up here. There you go. And we're going to have a new board come January. And it's going to have its challenges. They need to get involved, and it's scary because they're really not. Well, Brenda's going to be with me. Thank you. But we need young people in every corner of this place. And a lot of times we can't get anything but part-time people, even if we have the money. When we had a full-time person, the park job is too much for one person. They can't keep up. And it doesn't matter their age. It's hard. Mike's out there working with them. So everybody can say what they want about us, but we're doing what we can and our heads above water for a reason, because we work at it. So anyway, I want to thank everybody, and for coming and hanging out with me. For possible action, I'm going to set a date and time for October 24th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. And don't forget the Capital Projects Workshop. I'm going to make the motion that we set that for October 24th. Can I get a second?
I second that
Okay,
motion.
can I call for the vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.